So we're going to review what is a proportion and how do we calculate a proportion. So proportion, it's similar to a percentage, but we write it as a decimal instead of with the percent sign. And you calculate it just like we calculate probability. So we take the number of events that is true given that situation, and then we divide it by the total number of events. You could also think of it as dividing it by the sample size. So let's look at a couple examples here. For our first one, we have a sample of 59 baseball players and 15 are left-handed. What is the proportion of left-handed baseball players? So if we think about this like probability, we would have 15 out of 59. And if we divide that, we would divide 15 divided by 59, and we would have 0.254. I'm going to round all of my proportions to 2 decimal places. So 0.254 is just 0.25. For our second example, we have 250 patients with a specific disease and 30 are trying a new drug to treat that disease. What is the proportion of patients trying the new drug for treatment? So we have 30 out of 250. And so if I divide that, 30 divided by 250, I get 0.12, no rounding needed. That one already just goes to 2 decimal places. Keep in mind, if we were to look at what is the total sample size, it would be the 250 patients, the total number of people. For our first example, our total sample size would be the 59 baseball players. For the third one here, we've got a sample of 5,000 voters. 1,300 will not vote. What is the proportion of voters that will not vote? So I have the 1,300 that will not vote out of the 5,000 voters in my sample. And so if I divide that out, I have a proportion of 0.26. You could look at that as 26%, means the same thing. We just write this as a decimal. And so for this last one here, 18% of people have a P.O. box to get their mail out of a sample of 3,200. What proportion have a P.O. box? This one is not meant to mess you up, but it tends to mess people up in that we already have the answer. We don't actually have to set up any problem. That percentage is our answer. So our answer for this one is 0.18. Just writing that percentage as a decimal gives us the proportion. So 18% would be a proportion of 0.18.